And welcome back to the Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jono.
And I'm your host, Chris.
And today we are here to talk to those of you who are still playing fantasy football in week 18. Don't know why, and we'll get into that in a second. We're here to give you some information on players to play and players you should probably bench and some strategic moves you can make going into tomorrow's or today's matchup when this drops on Saturday into Sunday as well. So before we get into it all, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification button. We are still going to be dropping content throughout the rest of the off season. We're going to be breaking down the best picks of this year, talking about the worst draft picks of this year, future, who we like where, and rankings. And then we'll be getting into the NFL draft and right into our mock drafts. It's going to be here, April here quicker than you think, Chris. It's going to be April very soon.
Yeah, it's going to fly. It's going to fly.
I'm excited for my Giants. I mean, your Jets lose, that you should be excited about that if that happens. I
want them to beat New England, but that's just me.
Yeah, what are you going to do? All right, so let's jump in here. So week 18, we strongly suggest if you're in a fantasy league that still is playing for something in a championship to talk to your commissioner. And if you are the commissioner, shame on you. Get rid of the week 18 fantasy championship. There is too much at stake. Too much at stake, and there are so many teams, and we're going to talk about them here, that are going to sit their starters, so that affects your team. They're also going to sit starters halfway through a game, even if that starter does play, and you just get into a situation where you're not putting your best foot forward, and one team can have an obvious advantage if they have the right selection of players over somebody else, and you don't want to be scavenging, playing third string wide receivers, hoping they sit their starters to get some good play in there.
Like, I get it if you have like a 2-week championship, we're in 17, 18, and 17 is the luck that got you there. And then 18 is like, which is the best manager who could pick up the right players and play the right guys. I'm all for that, like, as a strategy. But if like your championship is straight up just week 18, like that's rough. Like, the guys that got you there, you're not playing. We'll go into, again, we're going to go into the teams, but like, one of those strategies is like, if you're not in a keeper league, if you're not in a dynasty league, and you're just in a redraft league, drop these players. Like, it's gonna look terrible, but you're gonna drop Christian McCaffrey because he's not playing, right? You're gonna drop
Matt Stafford, you're dropping Cooper Kupp, you're dropping Kyren Williams.
Those guys aren't playing, and so those are the guys that
Zay Flowers, like Odell Beckham, anybody who's been already ruled out, Joe Flacco. Njoku, drop these guys because they're not going to win you a weekend. And if it doesn't matter keeper wise, or it's not dynasty, they do nothing for you on the bench. You might as well go pick up these other guys. Go pick up Clyde Edwards-Helaire in case he gets in over Pacheco. Go pick up Rashad Bateman in case he's the number one guy. Heck, go pick up Denard Robinson for the Rams, who's going to have Carson Wentz throwing to him. Go pick up Carson Wentz. I mean, these are things week 18 that are going to look ridiculous on paper, but in the grand scope of it all, what are you really doing here? Like, what? Yeah. This is why we don't play in the last week of the season. It used to be week 17. Now they have it 18-week season. You just don't do it.
We'll go through the teams right now. The teams that have already ruled people out of the Rams, Niners, Ravens, Cleveland, and Kansas City. They've already ruled some major star players out. And between all those teams, you really have a plethora of guys that were very viable starters. Now, on the flip side, we have multiple teams that are playing for something. And so if you're a team that has Jaylen Warren, like, sub him in. If you're a team that has
Devin Singletary,
go ahead and play him. The Texans, the Jaguars, the Steelers, they all have to win. And if they're in Tampa Bay, even go pick up some of those guys.
There's even teams on our list that we're about to go through that have players and they're eliminated from the playoffs, but they're playing a team that's playing for the playoffs, maybe even in their division. And it's super, super important because in divisional games that are coming up in this last week, which are most of them, if not all of them, I believe, they want to keep a team out of the playoffs if they can. Like, Miami wants to keep Buffalo out.
I think everyone wants Miami to keep Buffalo out.
I think Tennessee would love to beat Jacksonville and kick them out here. So let's run through the AFC.
Jacksonville, the winner of the Houston Indy game goes to the playoffs. The loser goes home.
Yeah. I mean, Pittsburgh gets in too if they win as well. I mean, there's a pathway for Pittsburgh to be in. There's a pathway for a team like the Falcons to get in if things go their way. So
Yeah.
let's start first with the AFC. Let's talk about teams that are playing for something and the players we like in these games. So first of all, Miami, Buffalo. Let's talk about this game. Buffalo's a win and in. They're a lose and out because they need a lot. They need one other scenario, a bunch of ties to happen for them to get in, some losses and ties. So Miami clinches the AFC East with the win. Buffalo clinches the AFC East with the win. So Miami's playing their players. Tyreek is off the injury report. He's good to go. Tua's good to go. Mostert's the one that I'm worried about here. If you're an Achane owner, feel comfortable playing him this game.
I think feel
Waddle,
comfortable either way to play him.
Yeah. Here's a receiver that I do like. With Waddle being out, obviously Tua is going to be the main guy, but there are some other. Cedric Wilson to me is the guy that I like. And I was going to say it before this past weekend's games that he's a sneaky play because he does not fill the gap and void for Waddle and what Waddle could do physically, but he fills the gap as a wide receiver too very well.
I had him in 3 of my DFS lineups last week, and
it was a smart play.
He scored on the first drive and really didn't do much after that. But the whole offense really didn't do much after that. Baltimore took over that game.
Correct.
But I was patting myself on the back because he got in and scored on the first drive of the game, and I was like, "All right." But yeah, I would agree with you. I think Cedric Wilson. I actually think this is a week where you start Gabe Davis. Like this is a Gabe Davis kind of week. I said it. I said it in the last week too about Stephon Diggs on that 1 week as a play. I know he has been like terrible. He's been a horrible receiver literally for weeks on end. This is a all or nothing game for them. They lose this game, they're not in the playoffs. If anything's going to be left on the field, I think it's going to be Diggs. And I know you don't like it. It's not a favorable play, but with the options out there, he may be one of the better ones. Yeah, I mean, I think I like Gabe Davis over Diggs this week. But, I'm thinking, this game is – I think this is a Cook game, an Allen game. Like, Allen's going to take off running. Like,
I also think
if they're going to win this game, it's going to be by Allen, right?
I think Cook and Achane are going to have games this week. I think Achane.
I think those are the two that those are the two you got to play.
Let's talk about we talked about Jacksonville a little bit earlier. Let's talk about Jacksonville, Tennessee game here. This is one where Jacksonville needs to win because if they lose, they need other things to happen to still stay in. They win if Indianapolis wins and Jacksonville loses. Indianapolis wins the division, I believe. So this is a huge game for Jacksonville. You got a bum shoulder with Trevor Lawrence. They're having him questionable, but he's looking like he's going to play. Tennessee is going to go out for blood here. This could be the last game for Derrick Henry on this offense. So fire him up here. D-Hop has incentives for cash in this game too as well. I don't have the specifics up for me.
I think two separate incentives for catches.
Yeah. So he hits those, he gets paid too. He's the number one guy in this team. And Jacksonville is weak against the pass. They are susceptible to the pass. Fire up D-Hop here. It's the only two that I'm really comfortable. I do like Tyjae Spears a little bit. He has done some pretty good things. But this could be Derrick Henry's last time in Tennessee due to free agency coming up. Why not send him off on a big game here? And then in Jacksonville,
I think 200 yards, but he sat on my bench last week. Puts me up like 5 points.
And then on Jacksonville side, do you like ETN this game with Lawrence having a bum shoulder? I know it's a tough defense in Tennessee, but they have given up some big plays at the run.
Yeah, and they've been more susceptible against the run as of late. They've been better against the pass as of late too. I mean, they were awful early in the season. They're much better now. Vrabel, I think, is the way Vrabel talked about to press conferences this week. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee came out there and just started swinging. They're out for scoring points. They don't want to lose. They've now had multiple losing seasons, and they don't want to lose. And Vrabel's the kind of guy that's like, I'm not pulling this. He's not going to pull any punches. He doesn't care if it's the last game of the season. He doesn't care if it's for nothing for them. He doesn't want to lose games. So I like Tennessee in this game. And for Jacksonville, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, it's going to be hard for me to say, I like any of these receivers. Engram, I guess you're going to go ahead and start.
Well, that's what I
ETN,
say. If
you have to
I like
start
Ingram either, I like Ingram either way because he's going to get the short to intermediate passes,
with
and
all the
if
running backs that
Lawrence
are
with a
out.
bum shoulder too,
Yeah,
I like it.
with all the running backs that are out, I like ETN.
Yeah, I do too. Let's talk real quick. We're going to go on. I just want to make a note about Tennessee. They're 0-5 in the division. Cincinnati's 0-5 in the division. And then on the NFC side, you have Washington and Arizona. There's like 4 teams that are 0-5. And these are the last chance of these guys to get a win in the division. And they all have something except for Cleveland or Cincinnati, because they face Cleveland, who's sitting their starters. But Tennessee could knock out Jacksonville and get a win. Washington could get a win against Dallas and bump them down and not end up winning the NFC East. And Arizona plays Seattle. And I know at this point, Seattle's fighting for that playoff spot. It could keep them out of the playoffs with a victory there. So there's a lot of those 3 other teams that are 0-5. We'll talk about those matchups real quick, are ones that I like to try and play somebody on because they're going out for blood here. Let's go down the list here again. We talked about Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Fire up some of this Pittsburgh offense. They're playing the backups, even though the backups are pretty good in Baltimore and the coaching's good there too. You got to love Warren. You got to love Najee. You got to love the receivers here because Pittsburgh's trying to get in the playoffs. They win and they're in, and Baltimore's taking their foot off the gas because they're trying to rest these starters. And I get it. They should. And their secondary's hurt.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna rest some of their key players. I don't think that they're gonna rest everyone, and I still think this Baltimore defense is really, really good. And we've seen what they've done the last 2 weeks against top tier opponents. I think that they're going to handle Pittsburgh. I still like the Pittsburgh players in this game for that reason. They're playing for a playoff spot. I think Baltimore is still going to win this game, and this is actually one of my. If you guys are starting this week, and for even for DFS purposes, Devin Duvernay is one of my sneaky picks this week for a guy like they're not starting Zay Flowers. They're not starting Odell Beckham. So you have Duvernay, he's been viable certain weeks this week, especially he's had complete blow up weeks. He's had a multi-touchdown game this week or this year. Sorry. And Bateman's been coming on as of late too. I still like the connection that Tyler Huntley has probably with Duvernay better, but he's my sneaky pick this week. He's probably going to be low owned in the DFS play.
Yep.
Low.
We'll move on talking about Kansas City Chargers. There's nobody really to talk about in this. Kansas City sitting their starters already. CEH is the only one that I said would be an option if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, I don't really like whatever running back they're going to throw at the Chargers. And for the Chargers' sake, yeah, they're playing for pride at the end of this season. But I don't know if I love to play Eckler. I don't want to play Palmer. Keenan Allen's out. When you look at the scenario for the Chargers,
Everett.
Everett, but the Kansas City's defense is still being spearheaded by Spagnuolo, and he's got a great defensive mind, defensive scheme. The backups are still the Baltimore backups are still going to put up a good game, and the Chargers just have been pitiful in offense as of late, and it sucks, but it is what it is. I would look to start.
I was going to say, even if the starters were playing for Kansas City, there's an argument to be made to sit them, other than Rashee Rice and Pacheco.
Yeah. So
I mean, Kelsey's been outscored by TJ Hawkinson in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I like Pacheco and Rice, even if they were playing.
Ferguson has outscored Travis Kelce in the playoffs.
Let's talk Cleveland, Cincinnati real quick. I'd fire up Cincinnati. It looks like T. Higgins is going to be out, and it looks like Chase is probably going to play. I'd fire up Chase in this Cleveland matchup with the defense may play the beginning of the game, but they're going to take their foot off the gas at this point because regardless of what it is, they're the 5 seed.
They're going to run the ball and control the game. Yeah. That's what they're going to do.
Actually, I think if Buffalo wins, there's a chance Miami or could bump up into the 5 seed and Cleveland bump to the 6. But either way, they're not moving very far. But you look at the grand scheme of it, you got to fire up Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon needs to be in your starting lineup. He's been scoring pretty much a touchdown a week. It's a tough defense, but they're going to pound the rock. I would even say too, it's Cleveland has been susceptible to giving up points. We talked about it. Look at the Jets game. So why not fire up Browning? I think Browning's a great opportunity here, especially if you're week 18 and one of your starters is like Pat Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
So for the Cleveland defense, we have Myles Garrett, Greg Newsome, Juwan Thornhill, all out in this game. They're not playing.
Yeah.
And so you have the top corners, obviously, probably the defensive MVP, one of the defensive MVPs or finalists for him, with Myles Garrett, all going to be out. Yeah, I mean, you're going to start the Bengals in this game, but I still think Cleveland is going to just try to run the ball, and this game's going to be kind of slower paced, I think.
Yeah,
and I don't think Cleveland has nothing to play for other than pride.
No, I agree. So that's who we think on Cincinnati's side. Again, Cincinnati wants to try and end on a high note here. Over 500. This is the way to do it. Houston, Indy. To me, this is the game of the week. There's so much riding on this game here because you win, you're in situation here. To me, you look at it. You have CJ Stroud coming back. Nico Collins, you are firing him up 100%. I'd fire up Singletary as well. Fire up Singletary. I even like Dalton Schultz a little bit here because they're going to throw whatever they can at Indianapolis. And on Indy's side of the ball, you got to love Gardner Minshew. Like he's putting up career numbers here. So why not fire up Gardner Minshew? Especially, it looks like Pittman should be back possibly for this game. And then across the board, he's just going to sling the rock. Like he's got.
I like Taylor in this. I like Taylor in this game. This is probably going to be the game of the week. It really is. Like they're both playing for something. They're both playing to get into the playoffs. They're both being led by young. Well, I mean, one's being led by a rookie quarterback. The other is being led by a backup that's trying to either he's going to solidify himself as a backup in Indianapolis, or he's playing he's played the whole damn season. Like he's playing for getting a contract on one of these teams that need a quarterback. I mean, imagine him going to Pittsburgh next year. What a fit that would be.
Well, look, what about, Washington? Like you go to a place too, like in a situation where even if you're the backup, yeah, they do. But I'd rather have Minshew than Brissett. To me, Minshew's been more successful on the NFL field than watching Brissett. And I know Brissett's bounced around some good teams with some good coaching and backed up some good quarterbacks, but that's just my opinion. I think Minshew goes out there and doesn't play afraid, and he shows he does not play afraid.
Yeah.
So indie game here. If you got people in it, you want to fire these guys up. Let's talk about the last couple AFC games. You got Denver, Vegas. You got situations here where neither one of them are playing for anything. It's divisional game. Denver's trying to end over 500. Vegas is trying to get close to 500, but Aiden O'Connell's putting up some good numbers for his team. Devontae Adams is playing well. We do know that Jacobs is ruled out, so Zamir White's back in there again. He's somebody that I'd like to fire up too because they're just going to run him to the ground most likely. Then on the Denver side of the ball, Javonte. You got to run Javonte.
I actually don't think so. I think that so this is one of those games where both teams have nothing to play for. They're both younger teams that they're going to see what they have, right? They've been, obviously with Denver, they're letting Russell Wilson go. So they're going to see what they have. They're going to see what they have in these younger receivers. I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin Mims is targeted a lot and, he gets a large snap share. Same with Jaleel McLaughlin and on the Vegas side, I think that, they're going to see what they have with, Aiden O'Connell. Like Devontae Adams is, who knows where he'll be next year. I have my theories, but I don't know how much New York. Concrete jungle where your Achilles blows up.
I agree.
Can't protect
the one thing,
you.
So these two teams, let's just finish this up quick here. These two teams, you can start the starters on here because they're still going to be playing, even though they're both eliminated. They're not going to just sit starters. Just because teams get eliminated doesn't mean they sit starters.
No. I mean, they're going to play for something. I'm playing Zamir White in this game.
Yeah, 100% Zamir White. I like Jacoby Myers in this game. And when you look at this last matchup we're talking about in the AFC, so we could jump over to the NFC. The Jets and Patriots are two teams that they're still going to play their starters. They're still going to play out there.
Here's this is a game where I think Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, these guys are going to go. The Jets haven't beaten the Patriots in 7 years, right? They're 0-15 against them. So this is a perfect game to do it. I mean, Bailey Zappi, I'm not starting Bailey Zappi. I think this defense is still legit, right? The Jets defense is still legit and they have something to play for. They have some respect to play for.
You gotta love Zeke.
Yeah, this is a draft position game, right?
Yeah.
If the Patriots win, they drop. If the Jets lose, they gain some spots. They can be, they can finish as like probably the 8th pick. They're already like in the top and at number 10, I think. The Patriots could end up. The Patriots. If I'm a Patriot, I don't want to win this game. Like I want a quarterback. I want to go and draft some guys for the future. And you have like Penix up there. I think he'd be a great fit there. But and we'll go into rookies much later down the road. But like you're playing for draft position here, so it's like neither one of these teams. If I'm a franchise, I don't want to win this game. But the Jets have something to actually play for, which is respect to finally freaking beat the Patriots. But I wouldn't be surprised if Breece Hall has a really good game. Same with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, those are the two that I like in this matchup. To be honest, I like Zeke. Now watch, because Ramondre Stevenson, he was questionable going into last week and then ruled out, but I doubt he plays. And I don't know. It depends on Hunter Henry's health here too as well.
He's out. He's ruled out.
He's ruled out. So then, I mean, really, it's those three guys that I feel comfortable starting in a championship game.
Yeah.
Let's move on to NFC real quick. You've got San Francisco at the Rams. We already talked about them sitting all their starters, but we did say Denard Robinson would be interesting. Carson Wentz is an interesting guy to go out there. Elijah Mitchell, you could run out there too.
Sam Darnold, Jawan Jennings.
Yep.
Like I like guys. I like both these offenses, right? Like they're going to sit starters, but these offenses are good. So Carson Wentz is a good play. Denard Robinson is a good play. Sam Darnold looked good last week. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago when he had to come in and play.
He came in the game.
Elijah Mitchell, we know what he can do. He just hasn't had the opportunity because freaking Christian McCaffrey took 96%.
Well, he got in. Yeah, he got in at the end of the game, and he ended up scoring a touchdown. So those are the guys I would go out and target. Those guys have higher value than some of these other guys that are backups playing as well.
Great DFS plays this week.
Dallas, Washington. I talked about Sam Howell already because he's putting up some crazy rookie numbers. He could put up 4,000 yards in a season for a rookie, which is pretty darn good. He's facing Dallas. Dallas is an important game for them. They win, they clinch the East because they have the tiebreaker over Philly, and that gives them the number 2 seed here, no matter what, even if Detroit wins. So Dallas is going to play their heart out here. Washington's going to try their best to knock these guys down a peg and get a win and not be 0-5. I don't think it's going to happen, but don't be surprised if Washington puts up some numbers. We've seen them do it before.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They're going to get down in the game. So, you're going to start some guys, start some receivers on them. But, I mean, I think Brian Robinson's a sneaky play here. I'm still playing some of these guys, right? On the Dallas side, you're right. They have to win. So, you're still starting CeeDee Lamb. You're still starting Jake Ferguson. They're both really good.
I think those guys can still do damage, even if the game gets out of hand by halftime. They can still do damage in the first half. We saw it last game.
Even if CeeDee Lamb doesn't, right? They still have Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup. Like they still have other guys there that are really capable.
Well, I'm talking about the Lamb and Pollard and those owners and the Dak owners. If it gets out of hand the first half and they're just coasting the rest of the game and they can be pulled by third quarter. Yeah, they're going to get pulled. So I'm saying they can still do damage in the first half against Washington's defense. So still fire those guys up. Detroit, Minnesota. This is another big one. Minnesota is playing for a chance at the playoffs. They need to win and some other things to happen, like Green Bay loss, and I believe a Seattle and New Orleans loss. And that gets
they needed to win last week, and they went with a rookie quarterback. So,
yeah, well, they're obviously they're playing Mullins this week. But that being said, they're playing for it too.
They played them last week for the first half.
Now Detroit is in a crazy situation too here. They're locked into the 3 seed because they won the division here. And nobody in the 4 seed from the other NFC division is going to have a chance to beat that record. However, Dallas is 11-5, Detroit's 11-5, and Philly's 11-5. If they win and both Philly and Dallas happen to lose, they could jump themselves into the 2 seed. It's unlikely to happen because of the opponents for those other 2 teams. So I think you're still going to see some starters in Detroit. They'll probably get pulled early at some point. But I do like the offense of Minnesota. Fire up Justin Jefferson. If Addison's healthy and goes, fire him up. Mullins is a great opportunity here. Like Mullins is a great play. If you've got Brock Purdy, if you've got some of these guys that are definitely going to sit, Matt Stafford, Lamar Jackson, like I said earlier, or Pat Mahomes, I wouldn't be mad about playing Nick Mullins. The guy's slinging a rock.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. I think that they're good plays here. Detroit, again, they don't really have much to play for unless both Philly and Dallas lose, they can jump into the 2 seed. I don't think that's going to happen.
Hey, you never
but
know. Go Giants.
yeah, I mean, listen, you never know what's going to happen, but they're gonna play. But I think that they're looking to make a run in the playoffs, not to get the 2 seed, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
they're probably going to play in the first half. I'd be hesitant to start any of my Detroit Lions. But on the flip side, the Vikings, I really like some of those plays there. I'd say I could probably like one of the quarterbacks that are going to start in the Niners Rams game more than I like Nick Mullins, but
yeah, I don't know, because at least Nick Mullins is throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison.
yeah,
And KJ Osborne. That's the only reason
yeah,
why I like him a little bit more. I like that
yeah.
option. Let's talk real quick. Big game here, Tampa, Carolina. Carolina's defense has been pretty decent over the past couple of weeks. It's been pretty decent all season against pass catchers and quarterbacks. They play Tampa Bay in a situation. Banged up Baker Mayfield is good to go. He is questionable, but he is good to go after a full practice still today. But they are in a must-win situation. They lose. They need a lot of everybody else to lose to stay in this playoff to win. Because actually,
it's a halfway decent team playing a really bad team, and the halfway decent team needs to win. So,
I take that back. They lose their out because
they're out.
Atlanta, New Orleans,
they're not making a wild card.
Yeah, wins that division, and they're not going to make the wild card because Green Bay, Seattle have the same records as them. So unless they both lose, it depends on the tiebreaker there.
Green Bay beat Tampa.
Here it is. Tampa can clinch a playoff berth with a tie and a Seattle loss and a Green Bay loss or tie. So yeah, if they lose, they're out. So let's in terms of Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, fire him up. I like this whole offense. Honestly,
Godwin, Godwin, you're going to fire him up.
Rashad White bounce back game from last week. I think you'll like it here. In terms of Carolina, you didn't start anybody before. Don't start anybody this week, especially against a team up against the wall. So moving on, Philly and the Giants. Philly is playing their starters because they're trying to get that 2 seed and try and clinch the East.
Smith is out.
Devonta Smith is out. I don't really love Quez Watkins as an option there, but you're firing up A.J. Brown. This may be a huge A.J. Brown day. I like Devonta Smith. Yeah, Julio had a great game last game too. He had the 2 touchdowns. I like A.J. Brown this game. In terms of the Giants side, there's a lot of Giants that are going to be playing their last time in a Giants jersey and potentially being their star running back, Saquon. So I know he hasn't been as productive as you want him to be. But I'd fire him up. I like Wan'Dale Robinson as a sneaky play here. He's been involved in running and receiving. I think he's going to be a Swiss Army knife for the Giants in the future. Here's an option here. If you got a bunch of starters that are sitting too, he's an option. I don't love it. It's a low end option. I like other plays better. Green Bay, Chicago. Again, Green Bay's playing for a playoff position. I love this offense here. The best part is AJ Dillon's out. So Aaron Jones owners gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Fire him up. It looks like Jaden Reed is questionable, probably not going to play. Christian Watson is questionable. We don't know if he's going to play. So you got to like Romeo Doubs here. I didn't see if anybody else was still injured from them. I didn't take a look at the injury report if Dontavian Wicks is still injured or not. But Doubs is the leader in that receiving core without Watson there. So I think
if 2 of these receivers don't play, I like Tucker Kraft in this game. If Luke Musgrave doesn't come back and play, which he's been practicing, but who I love is just Jordan Love. He has incentives in this game.
A lot of them, a lot of them.
And so, and to make a statement,
same with Baker Mayfield, by the way, we didn't talk about that. Yeah. Baker Mayfield has 5 incentives if he finishes in the top 10 at the quarterback position, and he's top 10 in 3 of the 5 right now.
Yeah. And so, and with Jordan Love, I mean, to come in your first year as a starter after sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 years and you bring them to the playoffs, like that's a big statement. And I think that they're going to play to do that. And then, so I like Aaron Jones as a big game. I like Jordan Love in a big game. I don't know how much I like any of the receivers because I think it's hard to. We got to see who's playing.
Yeah, I say if all those guys are out, Doubs is in there. If all those guys are in, it's hard to distinguish who you want to play.
Right. But
I
I
mean, you go
like
for the
Jordan
home
Love
run
having a
hitter
good
with Chris. Yeah, you go for Christian Watson being the home run hitter at that
right.
point. So on the Bear side of the ball, you're starting Fields. He's playing great football right now. DJ Moore, if he plays and healthy, you could start him up. Cole Kmet left early last week. Don't know if he's going to be playing or not. This is probably going to be the last year for Darnell Mooney in Chicago. I'm not playing him this week either. So it's pretty much Moore and Fields. You
I mean,
could think
I
about
like
playing
Fields in this
Roshan
game.
Johnson.
Yeah. I like
Um,
Fields in this game because he's got something to prove too. Like, there's been rumors
exactly.
about him getting moved, and like he's gonna go and show like, no, this is where I need to be. Like, I'm a
Yep.
starter in this league. So I do like him in this game too. I think
I
Green
like him
Bay
a
does
lot. He
win.
might be my favorite. He maybe my favorite quarterback of the week is him because of how much he's playing for internally. Because his team's out, he's playing for himself. He's playing for his pride. He's playing for his future. And when
Yeah.
you put like this is where push comes to shove. When you put a competitor in a corner like this is when you see what they really do.
Oh,
And
for
with all
sure.
the chatter out there, he's been dealing with it like a pro. He's had his head down and in focus. I like it here. And he's a chance to knock off a divisional opponent out of the
Yeah.
playoffs. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Seattle, Arizona before our last game. And Seattle here playing for a playoff spot. Arizona's not. But again, Arizona's looking for a divisional win because they're 0-for in the division. Kyler Murray looked good. James Conner looked great. And against
Yeah.
Seattle, I think James Conner could have another huge day. I
RB
love James
RB1
Conner
on the
here.
week.
Yeah,
RB1
I
on the
think
week.
he could finish RB1 in the week too. Especially because even though Seattle's defense is good, they have not been lockdown defense. And even Conner playing against tough defenses seems to just be James Conner. It looks like James Conner in previous seasons he had with the Steelers. He just gets it done. He gets the hard yardage, and that's what you want. So fire him up if you have him. On the Seattle side, I love Kenneth Walker here. And I love the receivers for this team. Again, like I've been fading Lockett towards the second half of the season and really going JSN and Metcalf. And those are the two I'm going to stick with there.
Yeah, me too.
Last game to me is another game of the week because it is two tougher defenses, two not so successful. Somehow Atlanta 7-9, and somehow New Orleans is 8-8. This game here is a situation where I think it's a win. It's a win and in with, especially with a Tampa loss. They win the division. So both these teams are playing for the division win. And I really like Derek Carr here. He's actually been playing lights out the past couple of weeks. I like Taysom Hill as a tight end spot here. Juwan Johnson isn't even a bad one to do there. And then depending upon Kamara's ankle sprain, we'll see. I don't know. What are your thoughts at the running back position for New Orleans if he does not go? Do you?
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't go, and he's been a big question too because if Taysom Hill is used so much on the goal line, and so do I love Jamal Williams? No, not really. Not in this game. I don't think he's going to have the output that you're looking for from the running back. I would go with a plethora of other guys over him. Elijah Mitchell, I'd go in over him. And he's going to get the bulk of the work. And he's going to get goal line work. Whereas Taysom Hill is going to come in and get the goal line work, or they're going to throw the ball deep. That's what they've been doing all season. It's either throw the ball and they're getting 20 to 30 yard touchdowns, or they're getting on the goal line and it's either Kamara or Taysom Hill. And so I don't like Jamal Williams in this game. I don't like any running back.
I was going to say I don't like the running backs if he doesn't play.
Yeah.
On the Atlanta side, in terms of New Orleans, you want to play their receivers too as well. You want to play Olave. Well, pretty much it's only Olave in my opinion. And then on the Atlanta's, Shaheed actually is a great play too as well. Especially with the amount of receivers that are either sitting or could sit halfway through the game. On the Atlanta side, I like Bijan and Algier. I think both of them could be RB2s. It just depends on Arthur Smith and where his head is, but Bijan is talented. We've seen it. He's got the potential. Algier is still good. So you look at the whole thing, it's like, but Bijan has a chance to break Algier's rushing total from last year, which was 1,035, I think, or something like that. And Algier is still being used on the passing side of the game. I'm not going to start a quarterback for Atlanta. If you want to risk playing Kyle Pitts in your championship? I don't know if you would against New Orleans. I'd rather play another tight end. And Drake London is a play that I do like though. He's proved that he's a premier pass catcher in the NFL. He just needs somebody to throw him the ball better. And if Heineke's good to go here, I think Heineke's going to find ways to get the ball in his hands.
I agree.
But I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. That's the only reason why I'm trying to stay away from more players in this game here.
Yeah.
So that's it for the lineup on the NFC. That's it for our Week 18. Again, we don't agree with Week 18 Fantasy Championship, but if you're in it, take our advice. Good luck. We hope you win it. And leave a comment if you happen to win your championship this Week 18, because we'd love to hear it. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, because our content's not stopping. We're still giving you information. We're breaking things down. We want your opinions.
Keep on rolling.
So keep on viewing, keep on commenting. And as always, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.